Hello, welcome to Breakfast Central here on News Central Television, the right place to start your day. We bring you all the latest news, information, and incisive analysis of the biggest stories coming out of Nigeria and, of course, Africa. I am Benga Borough. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
And I am Olive Emodi, grateful, delighted, excited to be back, and always thankful that you choose to start your morning with us this morning on Breakfast Central. Remember that we are streaming live on YouTube at News Central TV. We're streaming live on X, Facebook. Please follow us, engage with us. I like to oftentimes peep into YouTube and see what's happening so I can, say hello to one of you or just pick some comments from there. Some of you drop your thoughts on the stories that we're looking at. Also, when we open the phone lines today, you can be a part of the conversation. Thank you once again for joining us. Good morning.
Yes.
It's great to be back with you.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. Welcome back. We really missed you yesterday.
Did you say something?
We didn't have time. Yesterday was hot. There was Iran and
Iraq
and the US and Israel.
Wow.
So there was no time.
I can see what's going on between you and Joe on this show. Whenever I'm not around.
Did you watch the full 3 hours yesterday?
You talked about me. You were talking about how I cried every day when you were away.
You didn't watch the 3 hours. Well, before we went on one ad break, I quickly.
But I actually was wailing a lot when you were away. It was so hard. I struggled.
I'm back.
Because I missed you so much. It was so hard to function on the show.
And I heard you guys shout out on a Monday.
Yeah.
It was really kind
of. And now it's time to miss Johansson.
My mom that told me, so I had to go and watch on playback.
Shout out to mommy.
My night has become morning and my morning has become night.
I hear that when you become a parent or a new parent, you lose self.
Yes, you adjust to the baby's time, and we're at her beck and call.
She's your boss.
She's my boss, exactly. But we managed to find a sequence. Things seem to be improving. Let's hope it stays that way.
All right. Shout out to our baby, and shout out to mommy as well. Yeah. And Johansson, we are going to miss you. I don't know how we're going to cope again without you being on the show, but we will try.
Things are not the same.
Our very best.
Levels don't change. It's 10 over 10. It's not 10 over 10.
Why did you not allow me to finish the lyrics? Okay. A number of interesting developments. News reaching us is that the young woman who protested, or maybe not protested, but did the virtual online rant challenge, Rita Oshe, Miss Rai. And this, of course, if you recall, when she made the complaints calling President Tinubu a terrible president, there was a serious lashing, people who were criticizing her, but more importantly, there were more people in support of her. There were reports of her potential suspension then from NYSC. But with the support of the likes of Omoyele Sowore, lawyers who stood up immediately, showed up for her at the local government office, nothing happened, and she was admitted back. However, it would seem that he who laughs last, laughs best, because I don't even know if the situation of he who laughs last. I thought it was done.
Dead and gone.
Now, the point you're having is that while her mates are passing out, she's been given a 2-month extension. There hasn't been any official statement from her. But if you know how things are, people have started to put 2 and 2 together. That it's because of what happened there that they're giving her these 2 extra months. Just like what happened with that nurse in Delta State that did the video of Nayo Mabi this, and posted on social media. Yes, they accepted her back, but it's like they never really, they say forgive and forget. We forgive, but we'll never forget.
Yes, and I'm waiting for the full details to come out, because sometimes you never know, like they say, the devil is in the details. So let's know, she might have missed some CDS attendance, she might have fallen foul of the law. 2 things can, like you always say, 2 things can be true at the same time. So I wouldn't necessarily say because she criticized the president, because we had moved on with that chapter. Maybe something else happened, and because she's in the limelight, it's easy for people to fall into that trap and mistake and say, look, it's because she criticized Mr. President. But until we get an official confirmation from NYSC for the reason for extension, then I will be able to make informed comments about this. But I don't think it's too petty for them to stoop this low.
That's saying it's too petty.
Yes,
Actually, don't believe that it's
the
possible
entire
that
NYC doesn't have better things to do with their time. Maybe she violated some ground rules. Maybe something else happened. Or
No,
she
they will
didn't
tell you
complete her
that
days.
the ground rule she violated
was
her,
because she criticized.
exactly, that she's that the NYC is some sort of a paramilitary setup that
she's a Nigerian
you should not
citizen.
be able
She
to
has
speak
freedom
against
of
your
speech.
employer. The Nigerian government is her
No,
employer.
the president is not an employer. The Nigerian
what was
government
the
is not an
argument?
employer. But I mean, it's just to, if this is the case, then it's really terrible and a very, very sad development. It means, I mean, people don't have freedom of speech. They can't speak their minds and they will be punished for this. But I mean, they just gave her 2 months extension. It's
2 months is a long time.
It's a long time.
There's so much that she could have done with her life. There could have been the plan of her saying, you know, I'm done at so time. In the next 2 months, maybe I'm traveling.
Is it 2 months with pay?
With or without pay? With or without pay? Honestly, I mean, the NYC experience, now yes, they're getting more money for a number of them, but it's not the same as
if
actually
you look at the
having,
dollar term, in terms of what we got paid and what they're getting, it's almost the same. So the more money argument is a bit shaky. Yeah, because if you look at the true value of the Naira then and now, purchasing power.
Purchasing power has reduced.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we do hope to get a clearer statement from the National Youth Service Corps regarding this, and we would also try to contact Ms. O'Shea to find out what the true position is. If there's another story we don't know about, if she maybe flouted some NYC rules, if she did not, like my colleague had said, maybe she didn't meet up certain attendance, or maybe there's just something that we don't know about, that is not that scenario that gathered national attention, but we obviously will try to reach out to her to get a clearer picture about that. But again, you know, NYC has been in the spotlight for the longest time. Several people, two sides of the argument. One side thinks they should be completely scrapped. The other side thinks they should completely revamped.
There's another side that says they should convert it to compulsory military service, like you have in South Korea, Israel, and in some countries.
I think Thailand as well.
Yes, have a sense of that discipline, weapon handling, and they can be called to fight for their country.
If you were now just finishing university and had to go to NYC, and they called you for NYC, or that is paramilitary service you describe, will you go?
To my nation. I love my nation, my country, Nigeria.
You go.
Yes, like when Iran tweeted that everybody is going to get it, I was expecting you to be in the forefront. To battle up powers and principalities.
No. Who can battle with the law? Nobody. I'm not
so
involved
your
in
own
such
patriotism does not have to do with guns.
No. It's scriptural. My patriotism is I will hold my peace, and the Lord will fight for me. Because my weapons of warfare are not carnal. Yes. They are mighty through God to the pulling down of strong.
The way I'm looking at you, I think you have more than your H is written like 9H. 5H powers. You got the powers.
Somebody say power.
You got the powers.
Okay. But let us know what your thoughts are regarding what you'd like to see. The NYSC, are you team scrap the NYSC, or team revamp the NYSC, or team completely make it a paramilitary service? I would say revamp. Before now, honestly, I used to say scrap. And scrap for a number of reasons, because I felt like NYSC was punishment for going to university. Because, excuse me, from the entrance, you get there, they'll tell you, carry your box,
yeah,
do frog
you've been living a civilian life for you. Yeah, it's good to shake you up for 3 weeks.
No, please.
Yes, have a sense of
I will
discipline.
forever be grateful to orientation, to broadcasting service, the OBS. I will forever be grateful to OBS.
What state did you serve in?
Ibadan.
Oh, okay.
Oyo State, sorry, if I call Ibadan State. Oyo State, Shane. So I'll forever be grateful to OBS for helping my life, because it was OBS that helped me to, arrange myself.
And some of the good things, the positives about NYC is some people get straight into the workforce from there.
That's the reason why I'm saying revamp now.
And it's also the first time they will meet with Nigerians from different parts of the country. So it has more pros than cons. But we should reform the things that are wrong with it.
Exactly. Because inside the camp, I think, what kind of jungle am I living in? You're seeing mosquitoes everywhere, dilapidated buildings, stone nets, mattresses that are looking like they're infested with bed bugs. I beg. We went to school not to come and suffer like that. Let's move to our next story, Benga.
Let's move to the next story. You said we went to school. A lot of people should go to school. They say education is scam. I see that, and I mean, they should try the taste of ignorance.
I see where you're going with this.
They should try ignorance. Education is no scam. People should go to school, and when they go to school, they should face their schoolwork diligently.
And come out with original certificates.
Come out with original certificates and be a thriving member of society, someone that has value to contribute to society. Because if not, you would regret it, honestly. And that brings us to this story of a fake certificate scandal. You know, this is not the first time. If you remember, there's Salisu Buhari fame in 1999, the Speaker of the House of Representatives. That's not the first time people are using, alleged to have presented fake certificates. During the screening of chairmen and members of the Rivers State Local Government Service Commission by the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Emergency Rule, Lady Christabel George-Didia, upon being asked why there were discrepancies in her academic qualification, narrates how a BSc certificate from Kwame Nkrumah University became void after she discovered the tertiary institution she attended was a scam. Didia adds that she now enrolled in the National Open University of Nigeria, where she's currently studying to earn a BSc. The Senate Ad Hoc Committee is expected to submit the report to recommendations plenary in the coming days. So, so there's a Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Kumasi, KNOST. Yes. That's not a scam. But this Kwame Nkrumah University that she went to, I really don't know.
So is it that
she said...
So the question is, did she actually go to the school and later find out that it's fake, or she did not go to school, they did a Oluwole certificate for her, and she's presented that? Exactly.
So she needs to come through with the full story. Did you attend the 4 walls of the university, or just 2 walls, or online university of Kwame Nkrumah Online University? Because how do you not know that a university is accredited?
You know the wild thing, and I'm not holding brief for her. I'm hoping that the Senate can do its proper digging and its proper investigation, and that when they finish this investigation, I mean, if you went to school, you'll be able to show proof. There are people that will know you in class. You'll be able to talk about your courses, your lecturers, whatever the case, there will be a trail. Let's find out that it wasn't her fault, that the school was not accredited. And I'll tell you this because I remember when I was in school, a number of universities, when we're talking about law school and trying to apply to law school, that was the point where a number of people in their final years started going into prayers, because I may be wrong, but I think that the school or the university's board can withdraw accreditation at any time. I think. I think the NEC can withdraw accreditation, because what we then found out was that there were other students in other schools or universities that were not eligible to go to law school because they then found out that their school. I think that that's the most heart-wrenching thing for anybody to go through, where you go under the guise thinking you're going to a normal university, you're paying school fees, going for lectures, writing exams, and you get to the end of your journey and you realize it was all a scam. It's like CBEX, but education CBEX.
But that's why it's always good to do due diligence. And you should not go to mushroom and corner shop universities in the name of, I mean, education is important, but let's know the type of schools you're going to. But let's take a look at how plenary went and see the details of the discrepancies.
Before us, Lady Christabel George-Didia. I'm going to take the next set of questions for her. So let me save those questions for her. Thank you. Please, may we get to meet you? Tell us who you are and intend to add value to screen there.
Thank you, sir. My name is Christabel George-Didia from Rivers State, a philanthropist and an entrepreneur. By the mercies of God, from my wealth of experience, I will do everything possible to work with the board. I own and run an NGO, and God has been merciful because I've used that to affect lives have trained people from my own bills, you know, trained people on different skill acquisition programs, and also sent so many to school, both primary, secondary, and higher institutions. So I believe that when given this opportunity, I will bring in my experience to work with the chairman and other members of the board.
Sister, let me congratulate you on your appointment. I'm going through your CVs. I've seen a lot of awards received by you, but I've not seen your academic qualifications.
Okay.
Can you take us through that?
Yes. Do I use the word once owned a BLc in Human Resource Management with the School of Management Studies, which is an affiliate of Kwame Nkrumah University, because I lived in Ghana. I use the word regrettably because by the time I came back to Nigeria just before the pandemic, I was so disappointed to find out that the school was a scam. So I preferred not to talk about it. So I had to quickly pick a form with the National Open University, where I'm presently studying peace and conflict resolution, and that will be done soon. But before then also, I did OND, Banking and Finance, on financial studies with River State Polytechnic, Boring.
So the situation is complex, and it's not that complex. It's just, I don't think the position, appointment warrants a university degree. If the last known education qualification you have is WAEC,
yeah, you use it.
You can use it. You don't have to. And I don't think, I mean, in fairness to her, she didn't add that qualification.
Yes, they were the ones that asked.
They were the ones that asked. So I don't think she's committed any crime. But the lessons from this is, you know, when that's what you call when this affiliate programs, you're not really in, because so many people say they went to Harvard on their CVs. But it's one program that is affiliated to Harvard. That's what you call inside your inside. So just by association. So it was a program that was run by a school that was affiliated to KNOS. Why? Through affiliation. Exactly. But good on her to have, because education is, to have disclosed that in a very honest fashion. And also enroll with the National Open University to get a proper degree. I
think that, and I agree with the point you made earlier where you said if her last degree was a WAEC, in a country where the minimum requirements to run for certain offices, even the highest office of the land,
is WAEC.
Many people will just question the level of it all. So I don't think that her university degree is as key. I mean, she's a nominee for local government. You know, she's not running for president. And even at the presidential level, they were not very, it's until President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that was still hearing of university degrees, Chicago say, Chicago no say. But it wasn't a big deal before now.
Right? Luckily for him, he presented his classmates.
Yes, Belarusian. Unfortunately,
they
have started to link the Belarusian to some other
issues.
Activities. Okay. I hope that does not really impact or influence the perception. Because they say, show me your friend. And
but I like Lady Christabel George-Didia. She's been very honest and she came clean. So I don't think there's much of a problem here.
In there, yeah. I mean, they should do their due diligence. I think the investigation should, if she said, I went through this thing, I mean, I don't know what the qualifications are, but I doubt that the university degree is very necessary for someone who's been nominated for local government, a position in the local government. I would think that if it was necessary, all the information they need to do is, did she actually go to the school, and was there a deceit on the part of the school, not on her own part? I know that there's the issue of due diligence, you being able to do your due diligence, but I wish her well, and I hope that, you know, they do what is right. And
one of the lessons from this is just go straight to the direct school. You
know that the problem with that, for a number of people...
Oh, they can't get admission.
One, admission is such a huge challenge, not just in Nigeria, on the continent. In some countries, you're finding it difficult to get into the major universities. Two, some people, I don't want to call brands, but I remember trying to run a degree, and one of there's an organization that offers degrees, and they say they're affiliated to certain schools like East London, Suffolk, University of Suffolk, there are a number of universities.
You were almost going to fall victim.
Funny enough, I don't think they're fraudulent, because I may still run the course with them. So I think that people just see it and think, oh, for these people to be affiliated, because you go through the course, when it's time to graduate, you actually go to the university. Yes, so if I did a course with them and they have an affiliation with the University of East London, and I'm done with my course, when I'm done here in Nigeria studying virtually, I will then fly abroad to receive my certificate and graduate.
Yeah, and
so there are people that do that, right? Not all of them are.
Why didn't you do it?
I'll still do it. Hopefully, they will give me discounts. It's not money. It's not just time.
To chase money than to chase education.
It's not just that. It's money. She didn't ship. Okay, let's share our top stories with you this morning to let you know and have an idea of what we'll be discussing this morning on Breakfast Central. This morning on Breakfast Central, we'll be asking, has the fight for rivers been compromised? This is one of the questions we're asking this morning on Breakfast Central. Hunger, poverty, fueling insecurity. We've heard His Excellency Peter Obi say this over and over again. Thugs invade SDP headquarters in Abuja. And away from that, INEC meets PDP leaders. What is the next step? Whose signature, is required? And will this NEC meeting hold on the 30th of June? The newspaper front pages will be reviewed this morning. Stay tuned for all these and more. It's another day in Nigeria marked not just by the sun rising, but by the shadows cast from recent and disturbing spike in killings across the country, with Nigerians worried and expressing concerns over the rising state of insecurity in the country. Nigerians have asked, when will it end? Nigeria's Inspector General of Police, Kayode Gbetokun, said that no fewer than 53 persons have been arrested in connection with the recent wave of deadly attacks in Benue and Plateau states that claimed dozens of lives and left several others injured or displaced.
Gbetokun described the June 13 massacre in Yelwata community in Benue State as a coordinated attack of terror. Gbetokun said 26 were arrested for the attack in Yelwata, 22 suspects in connection with the party attacks, and another 5 in Benue for a more recent attack. We shall be explaining the security situation in the country as well as seek to find lasting solutions that could help prevent future attacks. Join us this morning on Breakfast Central for this discussion is retired Brigadier General S.K. Usman, a former spokesman of the Nigerian Army. Very good morning to you, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central.
And thank you so much for having me on your program.
Now, let's start with the obvious question. What do you think, in your own assessments, is responsible for the spike in insecurity we've seen in the recent past, especially around the central and middle belt area of the country?
Reason actually that is quite worrisome and disturbing as to where, and the signs have always been there, but for some inexplicable reasons we tend to neglect or turn the other side. Over time there is a kind of noticeable divisive tendencies on the part of Nigerian society. Things were not the way, or rather they are not the way they used to be in the past, and nobody seems to have cared. Otherwise, it is not easy even despite, as it were, the impunity with which the killings are being carried out is far more disturbing than you can, because over time we have been programmed, so to speak, to realize that killings do happen because of number of security challenges. Look at the, terrorism and insurgency, look at banditry and kidnapping and all the rest of them. But it has gone beyond that. Just of recent past, you have seen what happened in Benue, and quite recently in Plateau State. And Benue again, killings where, unprovoked killings as well. Imagine people just stopping by to ask questions. The next thing, people mobilize to kill them for the simple fact that they are worshiping a different God from the other people, or they speak a different language. And it is not the way it was before. So now, what are those things that cause, what are those things that trigger it, and what caused the problem in the first place? I think we have to blame ourselves collectively because all well-meaning Nigerians owe it as a point of duty to understand that we owe it as a responsibility to take care of every Nigerian as it were, even though the government has a lead in the sense that they are statutorily responsible to do that. But if you look at it within the last 20, 25 years, what are those things that have been done to improve, cohesion and national unity among the components of Nigerian society? That is issue number one. What are those things to improve the social economic well-being? You see, all the non-state actors and some of these people, the private people, they are just filling a vacuum. And vacuum in the sense that, components of the governance that is supposed to be there is not there. Take, for instance, the issue of local government. Issues that are local that can easily be treated at the local level are not there. And we tend to have this kind of fire brigade approach to security challenges. And basically, the issue of security is far beyond regime security or physical security. In fact, an average person that is hungry, he is insecure. So what do you do about that? What are those conditions that you have created for an average Nigerian to aspire to greater heights, without let or hindrance? These are the questions. And all you need to do is to go out on the street, especially among the rural communities, in the morning to see the army of unemployed youth sitting idle. The devil, they said an idle workshop, an idle mind is devil workshop. So these are the things. Then issue number two, gradually our value systems are being eroded. We have tolerated insecurity to the extent that we look at killing as normal, devoid of any emotion and humanity. And all those people that have been perpetrating all these criminal acts, none has been brought to books over time. So what happened to our criminal justice system? So it's a combination of so many things, weak institutions, the lack of, autonomy of local government, and of course, lack of leadership by example, so many things, because on average, you look at what happened some time back in Plateau State. When General Alkali was killed, people had the effrontery to come out to protest when they were trying to drain a pond. And, lo and behold, there were 3 or more vehicles that were, exhumed from that pond, and it was confirmed beyond reasonable doubt. What happened, that, of course, was the general was brutally murdered. What happened to him? And of course, even before the killings in Benue, there were other killings. What happened to those people that perpetrated those crimes? Talk less of what is happening in the Northwest, where, high society people even pay ransom to these bandits and all the rest, or could come into terms with them under conditions that are not palatable without thinking of the justice system. That, in fact, the society tend to encourage people to take up arms against the state, against fellow individuals, because it seems to have paid. So it's quite, a number of reasons that cause all this and trigger and, make all the security challenges to escalate. And unless we look at and we go back to the drawing board, we will continue to have problems. And most importantly is the issue of neglect of our policing system. I kept on saying this because I know there is hardly a country in this world that has does not have one form of policing system or the other. But there are countries without armed forces. So if you look at it way back, right from 1999 to date, to what extent have we invested into our policing system? We have structures, and yet we are not skilled. What is the training? What is the logistical support? What is the number of the police? In those days, the CID alone, the mobile police and all the rest of them, you know, they are up and doing. Then, of course, the legal framework of all this security architecture needs to be, there are overlapping, functions, and of course there is issue of coordination and what have you. Let's even look at it. The Minister for, for Police Affairs, the Minister of Interior and Minister of Defense, beyond Federal Executive Council meetings, how many times do they meet in interministerial committee? And what is the relationship between states that are, neighbors with others that are sharing, security challenges? These are the issues. Coordination, synergy of effort, and going back to conflict resolutions mechanism that were time tested. In those days, we live in peace and harmony with neighbors, and of course, the issue of security, education, and responsibilities of the citizens. Quite a number of things. Of course, the national security strategy, 2019 has a roadmap, but have we been following it? So these are the things. I can go on and on and on. And I think it's about time that we have a rethink that the lives of Nigerians really matters. Otherwise, it will be catastrophic for this country.
You've raised so many reasons why this is happening. It feels like the multi-layer issue that or hydra-headed monster that we're dealing with here. But one of the issues that you raised would be, of course, talking about justice, the suspects, and saying how many suspects have been apprehended. We have a statement from the Inspector General of Police. Let's take a look at it, and when we come back, we'll have you react to it.
On 19th June, 2 prime suspects who were masterminds of this attack were apprehended from their hideout. This arrest led to the arrest of 7 other suspects the following day, 20/06/25. They were picked up from their various locations where they had fled, hoping to evade justice. On 21st June, another key suspect, in whose house the initial meeting to plan the attack was held, was also arrested. On 22nd June, a major breakthrough was recorded with the arrest of 18 other suspects who directly took part in the killings. Similarly, on 22nd of June 2025, a heartbreaking incident occurred in the Mangu Plateau State, where a bus conveying passengers from Zaria was stopped and attacked by a mob. Tragically, 9 of the passengers were murdered, and 3 sustained injuries before our teams could intervene and rescue the remaining 22 suspects, 22 victims. So far, 22 suspects have also been arrested in connection with this gruesome act of mob violence. They too will face the full right of the law in court.
I want to get your reaction to the clip and the statement by the Inspector General of Police talking about suspects have been arrested. Do you have much faith in how this will be handled? And while responding to that, I want you to also speak about the system of reintegrating quote-unquote terrorists into the society, and how effective a punitive measure you think this has been and this is.
I think it is very assuring that when crime is committed, the suspects are arrested, but most importantly is what's next. In fact, there is an analogy in the sense that there were animals running. I think an antelope saw an elephant running, and they said, "Why was he running?" He said, "Well, I learned that they were arresting goats." But they asked, "Are you a goat?" He said, no, but that in Nigeria, it will take me 20 years to prove that I'm not a goat. So that goes a long way to tell you the slow, or I think the way the criminal justice system work in this country. Yes, all well and good they have been arrested. Maybe there will be swift investigation, but what of the prosecution process? There were instances, people that were known to have committed heinous crime participated, involving and obliterating communities, and by the time they are either discharged and acquitted or even given slap on the wrist, jail terms. It happened in so many other places, and even in Abuja. So you see, people are skeptical about that issue. Then coming back to that aspect that you're talking about, let me also address one issue. There is seemingly to be a kind of, interagency, kind of rivalry among the components of the security architecture. I think it is not important who does what. The most important thing is that criminals were apprehended. Because if you put this statement vis-a-vis with, the interview that the Kaduna State Governor had with one of the victims and who are the first responders and all the rest, you will understand what I'm saying. So I think the most important thing is that the security agencies should always be cooperating with each other. Who just created immaterial? Nigerians just want to see results. And of course, their internal mechanism will deal with those aspects. That is issue number 2. And number 3 is the fact that there should be continuous security education and enlightenment of Nigerian society to understand the issue of security is a collective responsibility. It is not solely the government or the security agencies. And in any case, the security agencies are not magicians. And in the first place, we should not even be talking about arrest and all the rest. I think we should be talking about proactive measures, arresting people who are planning to do all these things. They did not come from the sky. You cannot just wake up and, attack a community, kill such a number of people, and then nobody has seen them, not till when they have committed the crimes and are funded. So what happened with the planning process? And I can give, even in insurgency, or let's say, IED attack. If you look at it properly, in the layer, there are about 7 to 10 people before an IED is detonated. So what happened to the information and the intelligence gathering system? These are the issues. So, and then, most importantly, we just have to make sure that institutions work. Whoever is found wanting, let the law take care of him according to, the criminal justice system, so that people will have a sense of belonging and they go about doing their business, and of course support and encourage the security agencies, because they are not magicians. And I kept on saying again that if you like, in any given community, and some of the security challenges anyway, you can put them in proper perspective and context, because you can narrow them to geopolitical zone, to a state to maybe senatorial district, from senatorial district to even a local government and even a community. So there is need to look at the context under which, if you look at Benue State, for example, there are issues associated within the community, as it were, the market issue, the elites, and of course, issue of infrastructure and unemployment and all the rest of the things. So these are the issues that we should be looking at, and then we think of solution to it. It is not just that we should have fire brigade approach to security challenges. It's systematic.
Now, General, we've been facing this sort of asymmetrical attacks, quite embarrassing they carry out these attacks to embarrass the government in some situations, and there's no way Nigerian security operatives can occupy the country. What bold policy reforms do you think we need to implement to stop these sort of attacks from happening? What are the low-hanging fruits? And I know you talked about justice, you talked about the bigger picture, but what can we do to nip this in the bud? What emergency solutions can we apply? Are there any low-hanging fruits?
There are quite a number. You know, the law is very, very clear. I think we should be dispassionate when we are talking about security. We should stop politicizing security. People that have committed offense, they should be made to face the full wrath of the law. And that is issue number one. And of course, anytime you have security challenges, it's predicated on the socio-economic atmosphere in the state. To what extent are you improving the well-being of an average Nigerian so that those who are, loyal, so to speak, or patriotic will not be tempted by the criminal elements. I talked about creating an enabling environment where you can aspire to be the best you can in this country. There are so many people there are deprived and they are forced into criminality. But of course, I know poverty is not an excuse for crime, but that notwithstanding, we should also look at the socio-economic well-being of, Nigerians as a whole. Then issue number two, I made mention of the local government autonomy and all the rest of them, and integrating, the traditional rulers of, well-meaning Nigerians into the security architecture. In most instances, we have the silo approach. And of course, if you look at even Benue State, what is the component of that state? Some of them are not talking to themselves. Why should it be? And people are dying. So people should be called to order. That is issue number two. Issue number three, there are policy reform, there were efforts to have security sector reform in the sense that people should be alive to their responsibility. And let's even go back to the issue of police. I kept on saying, look at the legal framework of the policing system in this country. You have the Inspector General of Police, you have the Police Service Commission, you have the Ministry for Police Affairs. In fact, you have the Police Endowment Fund, and of course, most importantly, you have the Police Council. A case in point is the issue of the Police Council, which is constitutional provision, which the President is the chairman of that council. How many times have we been, meeting in this country? The state governors are members. Have they been meeting? How many times have they met within the last 20, 25 years? These are the issues. And I think all we need to do, the rules are there. It's just to refocus our attention and make sure that these institutions are strengthened and make sure that people do their work. It is not just enough somebody will come and tell you stories. No, you should have proper key performance indicators, giving timelines, and to ensure that something. Take for instance, I don't want to hear any loss of human lives, regardless of the circumstances. Yes, Angama, but it is not just enough that you give that directive, but do you offer the resources to ensure that these guys perform their duties creditably so that you can hold them responsible? So these are the laws that we are talking about. So it's not just enough that we keep on talking so much motion without movement. Let us be, walking the talk. And let's not forget, she was talking about the issue of forgiveness and repentance. Yeah. Of course, we cannot kill anybody, and I mean everybody. You look at the circumstances under which some of these people were involved into criminality. Take, for instance, the issue of Boko Haram. Now, if you remember in those days, whenever they attacked a community, they go away with able-bodied men and women, and of course they distribute them accordingly. Some foot soldiers, some they are even domestic servants, some sex slaves, and all the rest of the thing. So how can you now, with every sense of responsibility, a woman that has been kidnapped and made a sex slave, and you look at her as if she is among the criminal elements of society? Somehow you have to distinguish between who just believe because it's ideological and those who are captured and made, to be members of that group at the same time. So you create a system. And of course, we have international best practices. And then dialogue is very important. But the most important thing is the issue of the process of dialogue and the conditions. I have written extensively in respect of that, cautioning about, dialoguing or amnesty and all, because we have the best practice and we have the worst practices, especially in the northwestern part of the country.
Okay, I want to read something for you that I'd like you to respond to. It's an article I saw on the genocidewatch.com, and I'm going to get a few excerpts from there. Dr. Abubakar Aldo, a counterterrorism scholar based in Abuja, in an interview with Truth Nigeria, said, if Nigeria keeps refusing to name its internal enemies, it will wake up one day without a country to defend. And now they went further to say that, experts have insisted that the refusal to legally designate the Fulani militias as terrorists is not just a semantic failure, it's a strategic collapse. And they go ahead to give reasons saying labeling them bandits instead of terrorists limits what the government can do, said Dr. Aldo. It prevents tracking their funding, sharing intelligence internationally, and punishing their sponsors. And I'm asking this because, I want you to react to this and give us your thoughts. How big a deal do you think it is for the government to name them as terrorists?
And foremost, I talked about legal framework, and the previous administration, had designated bandits and kidnappers as terrorists. And I know for sure, Kaduna State at a certain point in time even promulgated death sentence for those who are found wanting, performing acts of banditry and kidnapping. And all you have to do is to look at the counter-terrorism, acts and so many other legal instrument in this country. They had always been there. I'm always skeptical about issue of stereotyping, and that is convenient to some people. And I will give you an example. There was a time, when you lump all these things, I could remember way back 2018, I learned how many people, 2 armed robbers were caught with AK-47. The then sector commander, they were able to, apprehend. In fact, I think they neutralized them during the course of action. Do you know, one of them was Birom and the other one was Fulani. They were united in crime. And meanwhile, the Birom and the Fulani at that time, they were not seeing eye to eye. So let's look at it. A criminal is criminal, devoid of which God he worship, devoid of which language he speak. The most important thing, he or she is a Nigerian, and she should be treated as such. So we should avoid the issue of labeling and stereotyping. And what happened to NFIU? They have been doing a marvelous job. What needs to be done is to ensure proper coordination and follow through. And I could remember there was a time I was discussing with one of the intelligence agents. He said his own job is to make sure that he provides the information and his immaterial, how they make you. I said, no, you shouldn't stop that. You risk yourself, you risk your staff, you risk resources to get information that is supposed to be acted on. For goodness sake, if you pass the information, it has not been acted upon, you are supposed to follow, you are supposed to raise an alarm so that people should be held responsible and accountable. That is how it's supposed to be. So it is not just sitting down, have highfalutin, legislation, stereotyping, and making Nigeria drift apart. And in any case, when you say Fulani militias, in most instances, who are the Fulani militias? Look at it. Eventually, a nomenclature is coming into this country, Hausa Fulani. You cannot distinguish between Hausa and a Fulani. And I was in Makodi, on the streets of Makodi, a hapless young man was lynched to death. Innocent human being, but mere suspicion that he was a Fulani person. So I think the earlier we stop this stereotyping, the better. I'm not saying that, people are not involved in criminality, but take, for instance, the people that are peddling drugs here and there, they are, language doesn't matter. Where they come from, doesn't matter. They are basically Nigerian, and that is the problem. And I will give you another example. When I was in one division, way back between 2012, 2014, yes, there was a delegation of a particular community from the southern part of Kaduna. They came to the general officer commanding, complaining that all the security components, they came from a particular religion and ethnic groups. So the question, I was asked to interface with them. I asked, what's offense have this security agencies committed? They said, no, it is the older group. When there was a time when, the security agencies were from a particular, religion, and the other religion also wrote a petition. So now it is their turn to write a petition. But the question is, have they done anything wrong? The answer was no. And in fact, one of the commanders, it may interest you to know, he was one who paid JAM and YA fees for some of the students of that community, and he came from elsewhere. So you can imagine the attitude. And earlier, this early stopped, disturbing and putting Nigerians, knocking their heads together in the name of religion and ethnicity, the better we stop. Let it be Nigeria. And we have seen best example in Rwanda. You embarrass them if you ask which religion they are or which language they speak. And I look forward to that kind of thing. We are enjoying hospitality of fellow Nigerians over time, and now people will tell us that, somebody is tying your destiny and all the rest. Which destiny? Create an enabling environment so that everybody can aspire. That is devoid of these external variables of religion and ethnicity.
Thank you very much, General. Very well said. You are an alumnus of the prestigious National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies. They often say that in Nigeria that, policies and policies are not our problems, it's implementation. Are there any security documents or papers that have been written that that you recommend that the government should probably look at that might be a panacea to our security challenges in the country as we speak?
Just like you rightly said, I'm not just a member, I am a proud member, being the National Publicity Secretary of that prestigious association. Anyway, we're even meeting in Jos on Saturday. But what I'm trying to say here is that for the past 46 years, the institution has been in existence. Every year, the government gives the participants the senior executive course, which is the flagship of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, a theme to to research on. And I will give you an example with my own senior executive course, which is 40 2018, and the theme of our study was that interrogating the internal security mechanism and community policing in Nigeria, policy options and implementation strategy. I may not get it right, but invariably that is what it means. For almost a year, we went around 40 ministries, departments, and agencies in this country. We went to 12 states of the Federation, including Zamfara, and basically 6 from the northern part of the country, 6 from the other parts of the country. And we went to 6 African countries. We went to 6 other countries in the world. In my own case, my study group, which is 5, went to Ghana and went to Italy. And the most important thing that I saw, even at the Vatican, there are police, Caribbean. So we came up with findings, recommendation, which we handed over to the president. And we were talking about strengthening and bringing back the community policing that we've been talking, that was launched way back 2013. And eventually there were so many motions, but there was no movement. We thought it would be revitalized. And beyond that, right now, the course that is there, 47, they are talking about low economy. There are others that talked about the technology and innovation, water and food security, and so much. All you need to do is to do those documents. It is not just recommendations. There are implementation strategies. Take, for instance, which ministry, what are the resources, and who should be held responsible, what are the timelines. So they are there. All you need to do. In fact, there is now a kind of new sense of direction that we will embark on advocacy. The fact that this is 21st century, some of these societies were done in the 20th century, but I can rest assure you they are still relevant. All we need to do is to go back, because the NIPS is where you have the convergence of both the public and the private sector. It is assumed that you must have contributed in the course of your life and career to be, programmed to take up leadership position in this country. And that is why you cannot even go to NIPS unless you are 40 years. And of course, even that you are a graduate, you must have a credible degree or equivalent, and you must be either a colonel or equivalent in the armed forces, a commissioner of police, and you must be a permanent secretary if you are from the state public service, or a director if you are from the federal, public service, and equivalent in other organizations. So basically it is there. It is saddening and quite unfortunate. You have something in your Sokoto and you go to Sokoto looking for it. And I think it is better that we should dust all those reports and see how best we can reposition this country.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for joining us for this conversation, sir. It's been a pleasure. speaking with you.
Thanks for your time.
Ismail, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we'll still be looking at other conversations. To remind you as well that you need to engage with us on YouTube. We want to see your comments in the live stream section, and we'll take your comments as well. The Independent National Electoral Commission has met with the leadership of the People's Democratic Party over the current status of its National Secretary position ahead of the party's upcoming National Executive Council meeting. INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu made the request during a meeting with a delegation of PDP leaders at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. Our correspondent Joshua Imari has more in this report.
The meeting was between key leaders of the People's Democratic Party with the leadership of Nigeria's Independent National Electoral Commission ahead of the party's highly anticipated 100 National Executive Council meeting. The closed-door session, which held at INEC headquarters in Abuja, followed a formal request from the PDP leadership. In attendance were the governors of Plateau and Bauchi states, alongside former President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, and the leader of the party's caucus in the National Assembly, Abamu. Acting PDP National Chairman Umar Damagu emphasized that the meeting was necessary to maintain open lines of communication with the Commission and to ensure clarity ahead of its NEC.
We are here to interact sincerely with you off camera so that it will guide us when we get back to have a position that will further, have taking these positions that we found ourselves.
INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu, in his remarks, noted that the Commission expects the PDP to clarify the position of the party's National Secretary.
So there are issues to discuss, and we look forward to this important clarification from the party as to who is the secretary. In the last couple of months, we received letters from the party saying that one Mr. Ude Okoye was the secretary. Thereafter, the party changed its mind and said it was Senator Anyang. Thereafter, the party changed its mind to say that it's Mr. Shokwedo. And again, the party changed its mind to say it's Anyang. And the last letter from the party actually has no secretary at all. It was only signed by the chairman, which we responded to.
After the meeting, journalists were briefed by the acting national chairman.
Politics, is dynamic and pragmatic as well. So we will go back and meet our larger stakeholders and disseminate all the discussion that has taken place today, and we'll come up with a position immediately.
As PDP prepares for its 100 National Executive Council meeting on argument on the leadership's final decision on who holds the mandate as the National Secretary. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imadai.
In a swift legislative move, the Nigerian Senate has passed 2 executive bills seeking to extend the capital implementation of the 2024 budget and the duration of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund. The accelerated process, which saw both bills scale all 3 readings in one day, raised concerns of delays in procurement and completion of payment by ministries, departments and agencies. News Central's National Assembly correspondent Sagir Ibrahim has more.
The Senate resumed Tuesday's plenary after a month-long recess with a packed order paper. However, proceedings commenced on a somber note as Niger South Senator Peter Obi, in a motion of urgent national importance, updated lawmakers on the recent flood disaster which hit Mokwa town in May.
The Senate further urged the federal government to prioritize the execution of the relief packages promised during the visit of the Vice President.
All of his motions and prayers were adopted and a minute silence observed in honor of the deceased.
Rest in perfect peace. Amen.
Topping the day's agenda is the extension of the capital component of the 2024 Appropriation Act from June 30 to December 31st, 2025. After passing first reading, It suspended Rule 78 Sub 1 to expedite the bill's second reading. Leading the debate, Chairman of the Appropriations Committee says that the extension will allow MDA's complete procurement and release processes already in motion.
Due to some projects which are yet to be funded and implemented, we find it very important to come before these ALO chambers that this project be extended by further 6 months.
However, debate on the bill drew mixed reactions from lawmakers.
There are so many projects, some ministries where even no work has been done in terms of going through the appropriation processes. We need it to be guided by facts on the ground. What is happening is not backed by facts. I have no problem. There is necessity for us to address this issue, extend it, but we cannot continue extending all the time. Today has not given compelling reasons why this extension has become necessary. Maybe there is too much preoccupation with politics and 2027. Maybe there is too much concentration on receiving defectors all across the country.
Presiding officer Barrow Jibrin explained that the extension has become necessary for government to meet up with its obligations.
I understand your feelings. I understand the fact that you have so many projects ongoing. Like those roads, so many people have done, the artwork, remaining, the asphalt to put asphalt, but you don't have the money to do that. And once we don't extend the budget, it means those projects will be left abandoned.
The Senate subsequently referred to the Committee of Supply for clause-by-clause consideration. Rule 78 Sub 1 was again suspended to allow for the third reading, and the bill was passed. In a similar development, the chamber considered and passed the Nigeria Police Trust Fund Amendment Bill, seeking to extend the duration of the trust fund from 6 to 12 years. Without opposition, the bill was read for the second and third time following the required suspensions of Senate Rule 78 Sub 1.
It is imperative that the duration of the trust fund is further extended in view of its laudable achievements to ensure that the Nigerian police is well equipped to face emerging security challenges.
Both bills are various levels of legislation in the House of Representatives now awaits concurrence by the Green Chamber before heading to the President for assent. Abuja for News Central, Sergeant Ibrahim.
Excellent reporting there by Sagir Ibrahim. Let's bring you through a recap of what we've discussed this morning and also let you know what's coming up next. This morning on Breakfast Central, we have looked at hunger, poverty, fueling insecurity. This is a common cause, cry and concern we've heard repeated over and over again. INEC meets PDP leaders was another area that we looked at, and Senate accelerates police trust fund bill. Let's now share with you what's coming up next.
Coming up next this morning on Breakfast Central, has fight for rivers been compromised? Thugs invade SDP headquarters in Abuja. An assault on Rivers Council admin. Bring you this and more this morning on Breakfast Central. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll now be moving on to other conversations, looking at what's happening in Rivers State and asking if the fight for rivers has now been compromised. After months of political standoff, Governor Simeon Nnah Fubara recently asked his supporters to stand down and stop fighting for him. A move some see as a sign of de-escalation, but others wonder if it's a response to increasing pressure.
This comes as youth groups across the state have taken a firm stance against what they describe as unconstitutional plans to conduct fresh local government elections. A dispute over local government administration has deepened since the expiration of the tenures of former council chairman. While some stakeholders push for new elections, others insist that caretaker committees should be allowed until legal clarity prevails. The question this morning is, has the fight for Rivers State been compromised, or is it shifting into a new phase? Join us for this discussion is suspended Commissioner for Environment and River State, Honourable Tambari Sydney Gbara. A warm welcome to you, Honourable Gbara, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Yeah. Now, in the advent of the appointment of the sole administrator, so many people in River State and outside River State seem to, the sentiments seem to be backing the suspended governor, Simeon Nnah Fubara. They've supported him. They said, you know, this is undemocratic and a violation of the Constitution. And a few months down the line, he's saying, you know, he's telling supporters to back off. How do you interpret this latest development by Governor Simeon Nnah Fubara?
Well, in the first place, I will tell you that His Excellency Simeon Nnah Fubara, the Executive Governor of Rivers State, is indeed a divine gift to Rivers State. And God knows why he was brought in at this point in time. Sometimes when some things happen, we wouldn't understand until when certain events begin to roll out. His Excellency Simeon Nnah Fubara is a man who has distinguished himself as a true leader that feels the impulse of the people and is in tune with his people. He's working with the people, and we have that connect. And you are very correct. When this whole state of emergency was declared, of course, it didn't go down well with all Rivers indigents. Everybody lent their voices. But I want to tell you that the governor enjoys the organic support from the people, and they respect his views. We respect his views in the sense that it has shown, and it is evident that ever since the state of emergency was declared in Rivers State, all the supporters of His Excellency have, you know, through diplomatic and civilized means, expressed their displeasure. We have not seen any form of violence, just like we always witness from people from the other group. Everywhere, everybody is calm, and we're listening to the governor. And so in recent time, whatever he has said, we as the supporters, we will always listen to him, we will always obey his instruction, we'll follow him, you know, as our leader, because as he stands now, he has the eyes that he sees what we don't see. And he stands in a better position, you know, to advise us, we who are his supporters and his followers, on, you know, what best it is for us. And we trust him with all our life that he will never betray us. We trust his judgment. We trust his approach. Even when at first some of us never liked his, you know, his gentleman approach, we are saying that he's giving us result. And it's the best way. In this modern time, there is no way we will, you know, sow violence and expect to reap peace. He is committed for peace. He stands for peace right from 2023 when this whole issue started. He publicly made his position known that no price is too much for him to pay to ensure that there is peace in Rivers State. And he has consistently stood by that word. And we, his supporters, seeing his passion and seeing his dominion towards the path of peace, we have no choice than to follow him the way he is going, and believing that it is the best and in the best interest of Rivers State. We are talking about the interest of Rivers State here, not the interest of an individual, not the interest of the governor or our own personal selfish interests. We are talking about the interest of the generality of Rivers State, in a situation where the entire Rivers people will be able to enjoy the dividend of democracy, will be able to enjoy good governance, unlike what we have today on ground in Rivers State, where governance has completely collapsed. The constitution has been suspended. We are in a state of anarchy. Nothing is happening. The entire streets of Port Harcourt is filled with death. No government, nothing is going on. No contract is going on in any part of the state. Rivers State is at a full stop. Let me use that word when it comes to governance, because nothing is happening at all. For 3 good months, Rivers State has been taken aback like almost 3 years, you know, as compared to other states. And this is a state that is so prided that after Lagos State is Rivers State when it comes to economy, social, and otherwise in the country. And as a state that loads the goods, that is the golden egg, of which the entire resources of Nigeria is relying on, that the state has to be put in the state where it is. And upon that, the entire Rivers people are still calm listening to the governor. This is to show you the level of love and respect that the Rivers people have for the level of control he has over the people, because he has said he wants peace. So whatever provocation that comes, you know, we on our own part try as much as possible to approach it diplomatically.
Honorable Barra, I want to go back to something I want to go back to something you said earlier when you, of course, again restated your belief, loyalty, and commitment to the governor. You had said that you believe, and his supporters, you all believe that the governor will never betray you. What would betrayal mean in this case?
Yes. Betrayal meaning, because, you know, at this point where we are at the stage where talks are going on for reconciliation, and there has been a lot of insinuations here and there, you know, to say, oh, the governor, what I mean is we have tested him and we have seen that he has the interest of the state at heart. And when I mean the interest of the state, is the interest of his supporters, and that he will never agree to any position or any condition that will harm the interest of the state to his supporters. That's what I mean.
Right. Okay.
Now, talking about insinuations, there are some analysts that they've been wagging tongues, saying that your principal, the governor Simeon Nnah Fubara, since he's been meeting with the president and trying to, that there's been moves on the ground that he might decamp to the APC. Do you have any inclination towards this? Is there any truth, or what do you make of this talks of him decamping to the ruling All Progressive Congress?
Well, in the first place, we have to appreciate that Mr. President is the father of the nation, and that for any other sub-nationals, which are the component states that make up Nigeria, every right-thinking person who occupies a position of a governor must know that he will need to work with the president, at the center, to be able to attract, you know, the necessary development or the necessary attention of the federal government. So we have a very peculiar situation in Rivers State, as it has to do with political impasse, where the president has intervened, you know, with his wisdom. And so meeting with the president, for me, does not really connote that there could be a shift or a movement of the governor from PDP to APC. I want to assume that, let it be taken, that it is in line with trying to provide solution to the lingering political crisis in Rivers State. And because the president is interested as a father and is committed to ensuring that there is peace in Rivers State, he has availed this opportunity to, you know, rub minds with the governor, talk with him, hear his side of the story, and probably equally hear from other parties to ensure that he is better briefed and be able to stand in a better position where he will take, you know, the necessary decisions. But however, in politics, they say no permanent friend, no permanent enemy, but permanent interest. I'm not completely ruling out the possibility of the governor deciding to shift party. I'm not doing that, because if I do that, then that means I don't have a good knowledge of what politics is. Politics is a game that today we can be against each other for a particular reason, and tomorrow we can be together for a particular reason. So it's all about the interest and what the political correlation at that particular time needs, you know, to be done. So if the governor decides to say, oh, tomorrow, this is the reason, I've seen this reason, I've seen that reason why we should shift ground, we will always and at every time agree with him and work with him, because we believe that it is in good faith and it is in the best interest of his supporters and that of Rivers State. But for now, there has not been any such discussion between us. He hasn't told anybody that he will be shifting ground. So we believe that his meeting with the president is to ensure that the necessary steps and the necessary things, the necessary engagements, that will be able to bring Rivers State back to the path of glory that is already lost now, is the reason why we are having such engagements.
Okay, so I'm sure that, I like that you said if you say that there's no movement happening, of course, that means you're not aware of how politics is run in Nigeria. The six the 6 states in the South-South region, 4 of them are now APC states. We've seen a lot of movement and decamping. The only 2 states left are Bayelsa State and Rivers State. And I don't know if you saw where the Speaker of the Senate had made a statement, jokingly saying that, oh, who knows? He welcomed Professor Simeon Nnah to the APC, welcomed all those who had moved Governor Nnah to the APC, and said, who knows who's next? Maybe Rivers will tumble and then Bayelsa will follow too. So it's not far-fetched. Also, there had been reports of Governor Simeon Nnah Fubara saying that people should thank the president for his timely intervention, to save Rivers State from anarchy. So if this happens, right, if we're not saying it's happening, but from all indications, there have been strong speculations that this may happen. If this happens, how do you think it will influence his supporters, the supporters of the governor? Do you think that they will be, very well favored to this? And I ask because we've seen in Akwa Ibom, for example, where some people had to resign because they said they do not believe that their values align with...
It's not automatic.
It's not automatic, even though he had mandated his commissioners to follow him to the APC, but they refused. So how do you perceive that this will be accepted if it happens? Well,
I will tell you this, that since the inception of modern-day democracy of 1998, 1999, Rivers State has been a PDP state governed by PDP governors. It is not going to be an easy decision if, let's say, we get to that hurdle. But I still believe that with the right engagement, with the right engagements, with the right consultation, let's assume, I think it wouldn't be a problem, because when you're able to carry the people along, to give them reasons for whatever thing you are doing or whatever decision that has to be taken. Mind you, one of the good characteristics of a good leader is taking that very difficult decision. That decision that will not easily come by. That decision that every other person will want to hold back on. For a leader at that point in time, and you're able to take such difficult decisions, and at the end of the day, it comes out well. That shows that you're a good leader. His Excellency Simeon Nnah is a man that is very, very calculative, and very reserved in whatever he does. So I believe if it gets to that point, to that bridge, and he has right engagement with the people, wide consultation with the people will have to accept. The supporters are the ones that will say, okay, because of this, because of that reason that you have given to us, we are agreeing. He will not jump the gun, just like what we saw in Bayelsa State, where you try to boggle people, say, you must move, if you don't move, resign. And you've seen that some people are principled, okay, we are not moving, we are resigning. And heaven will not fall, if it is just a slang we use here in the state. So if he has the right engagement with the people and is able to convince the people on the reason why such decision or such move have to take place, is the people that will agree to say, okay, let us go, the leaders will go home, talk with the people and have a feedback. If the feedback is positive, then he knows that he's moving with his team and entire people. And there won't be any problem.
Okay. And I guess you meant to say like it happened in Cross River State. Yes. But now let's talk about local government elections. Are you confident in the River State Independent Electoral Commission as constituted currently to carry out free and fair elections? And what's your position? Is it time for these elections, or should it be delayed until the coast clears and when Governor Simeon Nnah Fubara is back at the helms of affairs?
I will not mince my words to lend my opinion as a freeborn of River State, that this is a total desecration of our dear state, that you have to bring a non-indigenous to come and man the electoral organization of River State, a whole River State. Like I see, the entire River State does not have anybody, to do that job. But mind you, I wouldn't want to go much deep into this because it's a constitutional matter already. Constitutional matter in the sense that there is a substantive RISEC that was, constituted by the law of River State that is headed by Justice Enebeli and has a tenure of 4 years. In that law, you cannot substitute or remove that that body except for the expiration of their time. And 4 years has not elapsed. What we are seeing is constitution of RISEC and and other agencies. For me, I think it's a complete deviation from what we expected to see happening now in River State, because we are at a point, a part of peace, at a point where we're negotiating for peace, and I think all the energy should have been channeled towards, reconciliation and bringing about the peace. And so we were taken aback when we saw all these confirmations and all that flying around, and we begin to ask questions. Say, are we really, still negotiating or talking about peace? Why are we making moves that will be provocative on the people when we are talking about peace? Is this just like speaking from the both sides of our mouth? And so it's not going down well at all with Rivers people. A lot of people have lent their voices and made their opinions to say that they are going to resist it legally. They are going to go to court to ensure that that constituted body does not operate in River State. And so it's not going down well with us. For as a person, I see it, like I said, yes, as a desecration of our dear state.
All right, Honorable Tambari Sydney Barra, thank you for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. We want what's best for River State. Every time we keep bringing these conversations, it's because at the end of the day, we recognize that the most important thing is governance and the people of River State, and not politics and the semantics of what's happening at the moment. But we certainly want the best for the state. Thank you for joining us this morning. Right, we'll go on a break now. When we come back, we do have more conversations. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Tensions flared at the Social Democratic Party SDP Secretariat yesterday as some youths protested the suspension of the national chairman Alhaji Shehu Musa, along with two senior officials over serious allegations of financial misconduct. The party's National Working Committee announced the immediate suspension of BAM National Auditor Nze Nnadi Clarkson and National Youth Leader Uche Chukuma for alleged embezzlement, misappropriation of funds.
The decision was disclosed by National Publicity Secretary Araba Rufus Ayenigba after an emergency NWC meeting at the party's Abuja headquarters. The protest turned into chaos, and calm was only restored by a joint response team of police, SSS, and civil defense officers. Alhaji Shehu Musa was, however, stated that his suspension was orchestrated by coalition seeking to disrupt the party structure for their own gain. Now, joining us to discuss this is public affairs analyst, Professor Simeon Nnah. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Morning.
Let's get your initial reaction to this story before going to the questions.
Well, when I heard the story yesterday, when it broke yesterday, I saw the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob.
So who's the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob?
Well, the guy that is that instituted the problem, I learned from the news too that he had issues with EFCC, and the chairman he purportedly removed, and all the executives that he has removed supported him in that bid. And I don't think that case has ended. if I want to play the devil's advocate, I would want to say he's bargaining his exit from EFCC with what he's doing. Going by what is happening in the polity today, we discover that all the opposition parties are being infiltrated to ensure that there will be no opposition in 2027. That's a fact that nobody can contradict, except the ruling party.
So how can political parties insulate themselves from external pressures that are aimed at destabilizing their parties if we're going to go by your line of argument?
It's a tough order because we will always have moles. We will always have moles. As far as those moles are there, it's going to be a difficult thing to do. You see, let's look at the trajectory of what is going on today. In 1999, something happened in Lagos. The AD then said, any ward where there is fracas, the elections in that ward will be cancelled. And we discovered that the opposition, okay, there were two major candidates in that election. The current president now and the late, what's his name again? Funsho Williams. Now it was discovered that in the areas where Funsho Williams was very strong, area boys were organized to cause fracas there, so that those areas will be cancelled. So leopard don't change their skin. This is a political juggernaut, if you like that word. So he knows what to do.
Now, but you said,
and he's been using it.
You said they use moles. Moles are human beings which you use to destabilize.
Of course.
Cause friction within a party.
Course.
But these parties have strong. They have constitutions. They have set.
The constitution says moles cannot be used.
Set guidelines.
Yes.
So if you have individuals that are falling foul of the party's constitution, there are disciplinary measures. So how do they?
Were you here in 1984, through to early 90s?
IBB said, I wasn't in New Central.
Okay. no, what I meant here, I don't mean New Central. I mean in this country. You're just being sarcastic. You see, IBB said everybody has a prize. And he made people know that most people have prize, not everybody. Because he couldn't pay the price of Ghani. Late Ghani insisted that you can't pay my price. And because of that, he could not. And everybody that he reloaded into his administration, he made them swallow their words. So it's about money. It's about stomach infrastructure, my brother. Apologies to Shokomole. It's about stomach infrastructure. So once you pay the right price, you get the right moves to do your job for you. That's what's going on in politics. And look at Nigerian politicians, ideologies. All of them are just looking for what to eat and what to, show off with. That's the tragedy of this country today.
But up until this point, the SDP has been seen as, one of the few parties without any internal crisis, no drama, very calm. They've been used as an example of a model party.
Yes.
What do you have to say about the timing?
That supports my argument.
About the timing of this.
Just because the opposition now want to use it to launch an opposition against a ruling party, that's why they are destabilizing them. You see, the first move some of them made was to join the SDP. They wanted to use the SDP. Now, okay, look at what's going on. They wanted to use the SDP, and now they try to destabilize the SDP. Now, again, they want to register a new political party. I was listening to one, and the lady said, let's address the new party that will not register as ADA. And INEC is saying that they will not register the ADA. So what are we saying? You can see what I said earlier. So at the end of the day, you discover that something is going on. Or, sorry, the voice of Esau and the hand of Jacob. No, I said it right before. It's the voice of
I think we get the
hand of Jacob.
And the way things are going, it's looking like the hand of Nebuchadnezzar.
So you discover that, you know, INEC does not have right to say they cannot register a party. They doesn't have that right. Because I recall vividly that the late Gani went to court when there were only 5 political parties and INEC was insisting that they were not going to register new political parties. And he went to court and the court said you cannot stop any party that has fulfilled constitutional rights not to be registered. That's why you have a variety of political parties today. So which INEC will now come and say that you cannot register a new political party. So you can see what we're saying, that there's somebody playing the drums for them.
I mean, in fairness to INEC, there were discrepancies in their filing. The letter was addressed to the Independent National Commission.
No. If there are discrepancies in their filing, what they will say is, look, rectify, not that you cannot, they use that word, you cannot register. So you see, at the end of the day, at times, you want to do certain things, you want to cover up certain lapses, but there's a way these things play out. You make one mistake here and there.
Are we going to completely toss away the allegations of financial misappropriation? Are we saying that that absolutely did not happen?
No, I'm not saying that because it's not been proven. We are not saying it has happened. We are not saying it has not happened.
So is it worth...
We are saying...
considering and maybe looking
into let them look into it. The man was on tele yesterday in a sister station, and he said he's open to probe, that he has not embezzled anything, he has not, and they asked him questions as, are you a signatory to that account? He said yes, but that he doesn't sign. There are 3 signatories to the account. And he said so many things to exonerate himself, but that does not mean that they cannot still go ahead and probe it. But the question is, why is he coming now? Why has he not been there since? Why is it now that they're looking at the option of using that party to launch opposition? And then you are now destabilizing the party and saying they're not going to register a new party. So look at the nexus. You look at the nexus and you know what I'm saying, where I'm coming from.
So Gabon is still insisting that he's still the national chairman of the party?
Of course, because the people that removed him, I don't know their constitution, they are not the right people that should remove a chairman of a party. I think they have the governing council, or whatever they call it, that has a right to remove the chairman of a party. In fact, you don't start removing a chairman by mere allegation. You should have been suspended. You see, that's why I say they will always be making mistakes because they're not doing the right thing. The right thing that should have been to suspend him and then now go out to probe whether what he has done is right or wrong before removal. You just woke up and accuse somebody and say he's removed. No, it doesn't happen in the same clan.
I mean, as an observer of Nigerian politics for decades, we've seen this play out so many times. Is this situation, do you see it degenerating into a Labour Party type crisis where, oh, you remove me, I'm not going? Then you have conventions at the back of backyard conventions. You have a new party chairman, and then you go to court. There's this back and forth, and it gets very, very messy. And let's not forget that we're inching closer to 2027. Do you see a similarity between the Labour Party and this SDP crisis degenerating into a Labour Party type crisis, or because of the personalities you have in the SDP, like the former presidential candidate to the SDP and Malam Nasir El-Rufai, it will be nipped in the bud before it gets to that level?
Well, Malam Nasir El-Rufai just joined the political party, and from what the chairman said yesterday, he doesn't have any ambition. He has not told him that he has any ambition of becoming anything. But I can tell you for free, and you can go to the bank with it. You see, the next step that's going to happen, watch it. And when it happens, I will say, I told you so. They are going to raise a chairman now that they will now say is the constitutional chairman, and they will go to court. That's the way it is. We know these things. We don't need to be told. You don't say it all. The next step now is that before this week runs out, at least by next week, you will see a new chairman in that political party. And that new chairman now will now go to court for recognition. Look at what's happening in PDP. And both INEC and the court are speaking in tongues. Because the court said, it is a political party affair. Go home and resolve your problem. They went home, they met, and they said, this is the person we want as our secretary. INEC is not recognizing that person. So what are we? So you see that the problem here is legion. Whatever is happening in these political parties today, I can tell you for free that devil is details.
So does this maybe strengthen currently the hold of All Progressives Congress? Because I would say it feels like almost all the seemingly major political parties have some major internal fracas going on. The Labour Party, we've seen how things have turned out. PDP has been in the eye of the storm, even though some would claim that PDP is still united, but even their NEC meeting, we don't even know if the NEC meeting is going to hold.
United INEC is attending. I mean, it's like you said.
I heard the former commissioner in Rivers State. You heard what he was saying when you asked the question rhetorically if what happened in Akwa Ibom, not even Cross River, happens in Rivers State. What are they going to do? Are they going to, you know, he told you that his governor is somebody who carries people along. So if he decides to move over to APC, they will join him. Was it not what he said?
Yeah.
So you see, this is about power. It's about 2027. And it's about, because they know that the next thing that will happen is go to court. So to avoid go to court, let me tell you. You see, the problem with our politicians is that I think they forget easily. They forget history easily. And those who forget history easily either make the same mistake or become history themselves. In 1983, a similar thing happened. The NPM that was government in power, led by Shehu Shagari, wanted to take over every state of the Federation. They took over them. In the southeast, we had Anambra and Imo. They took over Anambra. They wanted to take over Imo. There's one Abiko Okafor. He was in his late 60s then. He just wore shorts and the bowler cap. Went into Fedeco office. Then we had Fedeco, not INEC, and carried the ballot box and ran away to the radio station. And the late Sam Bakwe, that was the governor, now read the result and announced himself the winner. That was how Imo survived it. Now, Omoboriowo saga was something that would have degenerated to Wild West. And that was what led to the strike of the military in that year. Yes, 1983, December 30, 31st, and January 1, 84. You see, if they have learned anything, in Anambra, they took over. What would have won the election? They took over and gave it to Sisiono. And at the end of the day, there was fracas everywhere. Now, they want to go the same way again. Because what is going to happen now is that everywhere in the world, they rig elections. So even in the US, we know that they rig elections everywhere. But the challenge we have in this country is that we rig blind. You were here when a presidential candidate won only one vote in an election in Nigeria. And he was asking, does it mean even my children and my wife didn't vote for me? No, that's the kind of thing we do here. There was a lady too that contested election, Jibril who? That contested presidential election. She won either she didn't win a vote or she won 1 or 2 votes. So these are the things. So even her campaign team, they didn't vote for her.
Let's take a look at the situation again. Yeah. A lot of people are accusing the ruling party of destabilizing efforts in some of the opposition parties. But does that automatically, I mean, it's one thing to disrupt your house and, you know, cause confusion. But does that automatically translate to votes for the ruling party? Because at the end of the day, it's the people that will decide at the ballot.
It doesn't translate to votes. But a house divided against itself cannot stand. And again, what they want to do is to ensure that the people that will create problems for them in those states are taken out to join them. You see, it's a different thing that, for instance, a state like Rivers now is a PDP state. I want to take it. You expect the governor to fight, don't you? Because the people will vote, and they will vote whichever party they want. But if the governor is from a different party, he will fight. But if the governor now has moved over, so when people are saying governors only have one vote, I laugh because they don't understand the game plan of these guys. Their game plan is that once we take over the guys that are going to contest this election, because the ordinary man in the street is not going to contest election results, are they? Have they been doing that? It's only the governor or the people in the state house assemblies or the people that win the senatorial seat or whatever that contest the election. Yes. So once they buy over these guys to their side, whatever you do, go ahead and vote. They write the result and ask you to go to court. Simple and short.
To what extent would you say that El-Rufai's movement to the SDP is in some way influencing the party's reconfigurations? SDP looks like a similarly peaceful party, no wahala. He come out and say he believes that the SDP is the best party to be the coalition. So do you think that his presence or as a member of the SDP now has in any way influenced the measure of destabilization they've been experiencing recently?
He may or may not, and I will explain what I mean. He may, from the fact that the man himself is a controversial figure. That's one. Secondly, because they know the kind of influence he wields from his bloc. So if he's wielding that influence and he carries that influence to SDP, there might be problems. So one of the things they can do is to ensure, I'm not a fan of El-Rufai, because as far as I'm concerned, he's not somebody that is straight for me. It's not, because I watched him over the years. What's that, his book, Accidental Civil Servant? I don't know how he would say that, because he was civil servant for several years before he was brought into politics. So he wasn't a politician from day one. It was his, stance as a civil servant that made Obasanjo to bring him into politics. So at the end of the day, I think they are believing that the kind of influence he wields from his bloc, if he brings that to bear in SDP and bring the people he's trying to gather now, there's going to be challenge in 2027. Because they don't want a challenge in 2027. They want a seamless sail-through. Like I said before, once they get these guys that are going to challenge the result of the election, what are you going to do? Simply sit down and write the result and call your INEC to announce the result, and then they'll ask you to go to court, knowing fully well that you will not have any result in court.
Okay, so let's look at the way forward now for the SDP. Let's look at what the potential is regarding reconciliation. Is there, what measures will they need to put in place to ensure that they reconcile within themselves, that they put system structure strategy to ensure that they have a united front? Like you said, a house divided within itself cannot stand, and if they don't resolve their issues, they're not going to either be this formidable opposition force or even be ready at all for the next election.
And to add to what Olive said, do you expect the EFCC to step in, investigate, and let us know their findings?
Yeah, naturally, that's the next level of action. I've said it, I think, here too, that the security operatives are always watching the body language of the president. So if the body language of the president says, go ahead and do what you ought to do, they're going to move in. And
I mean, the EFCC doesn't take orders from Mr. President. They have
says who?
No, they.
Says
I
who?
mean,
no. I say a no.
Why do we expect the president?
There are no. We don't have institutions in this country. We have been arguing that the institutions should be stronger than individuals. But we have heads of states that are stronger than all the institutions you have. See, he who pays the piper dictates the tone. That's why we are saying some of these appointments should not be made by the president. Because once he makes those appointments, he has the authority to make the appointment, he has the authority to remove you. He has the authority to remove that man tomorrow. irrespective of what the law says. He will remove him, and they still find a way of going to court to confirm that he has been removed. After all, they made a declaration in Rivers State before they got the backing law, before they went to National Assembly to get the law to back them up. So they can always do what they want and get away with it. That's the challenge we have. If we had strong institutions, it would have been a different thing. These institutions are not strong. See, let me give it to the current chair of EFCC, because he's a lawyer, and I think to a little extent he has tried to, not go into doing dirty jobs, if you permit that language. So at the end of the day, they will step in there, and then I don't think there's any way to manipulate issues. They will give us the results, and we'll see what. Okay.
Professor Simeon Nnah, thank you for joining us this morning. It's always a delight to have you. I will still be talking some more politics this morning, but this time we're heading to our correspondent Joshua Imarai, who brings us reports as to what the latest update regarding the meeting with PDP and INEC has resulted into. Good morning, Joshua. What's the latest update with PDP and INEC? Is their meeting going to happen on the 30th of June as planned?
Good morning to you, Oli. Well, the meeting between the INEC and the PDP yesterday was more of a shipping one. The PDP, the INEC actually wrote to the PDP saying that the notice of their 100 National Executive Council meeting fell short of the standard of the INEC. So the people are seeking to discuss what was wrong and what went wrong and what should be done, particularly in the INEC. So we are expecting that they are going to come back to the INEC and maybe have another meeting as to regard that issue of National Secretary, because it is that particular issue that is holding the PDP back from holding that their 100 National Executive Council meeting. So we are expecting that the INEC, that the PDP will come back to INEC to discuss this regard who their National Secretary is of the party.
All right. We of course want to have more updates, but do we also have information regarding what the body language of the PDP is at this time regarding this whole drama that has been happening?
Well, our PDP just want things to move forward. It is clearly from their voices when the acting national chairman was speaking. The PDP actually noted that particular meeting between the INEC and the PDP, because the chairman of INEC said that it was at the instance of the PDP that meeting is holding, that he also threw back, or she was back to previous months when the Labour Party had said. So they are seeking to solve this internal crisis that is affecting their party. But one thing that stood out was that the INEC chairman asked them that who particularly is the national secretary of the party. As usual, when a party is seeking to hold its national executive council meeting, they're always right. And subsequently, 99 times, PDP has written to INEC. And those documents that they wrote to INEC have two different signatures, the signature of the national chairman, as well as the signature of the national secretary of the party. But this 100 times, that particular document fell short of the standard of INEC. So the INEC chairman further pleased them that particularly is the national chairman, the national secretary particularly. The national chairman of the INEC also threw us back to previous months where the PDP submitted series of press submitted Atiku-Obi as the national secretary. He also went back to submit Professor Simeon Nnah as national secretary. Also went back to submit Anyawu as national secretary. And lastly, the 100 time, that particular document that was submitted to INEC lacked the signature of a national secretary. One thing that INEC is stating is that if this should be allowed to do, they might fall into serious litigation for the commission, and the commission cannot afford that. Or if this should be allowed to slide forth, this will be the trend of political parties coming to INEC with just one signature seeking to hold the National Executive Council meeting. So this is where we are. And I am so sure that our PDP is seeking extra measures to solve this internal crisis issue as regards the national secretary position of the party. And I believe that maybe with time, they will have something to maybe cut on the entire quagmire in the party and to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
If this doesn't end up becoming the case of things falling apart at the center not being able to hold, like Chinua Achebe would say. Thank you so much, Joshua. for being here with us. All right, we still have more to talk about when it comes to politics and the likes, but let's share with you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central.
Hello, welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Binga Borowa. We begin the news with security matters, where the Nigerian police force says it has arrested 26 persons and retrieved several weapons in connection with the killings of 47 people in Yelwata, Benue State, which also left many injured and hundreds displaced. Inspector General of Police Kade Egbetokun made this known while speaking to newsmen in Abuja, adding that another 22 suspects have also been arrested in connection with an attack on travelers in Plateau State, where 9 people were killed and several others injured.
On 19th June, 2 prime suspects who were masterminds of this attack were apprehended from their hideout. This arrest led to the arrest of 7 other suspects the following day, 20/06/25. They were picked up from their various locations where they had fled, hoping to evade justice. On 21st June, another key suspect, in whose house the initial meeting to plan the attack was held, was also arrested. On 22nd June, a major breakthrough was recorded with the arrest of 18 other suspects who directly took part in the killings. Similarly, on 22nd of June 2025, a heartbreaking incident occurred in the Mangu, Plateau State, where a bus conveying passengers from Zaria was stopped and attacked by a mob. Tragically, 9 of the passengers were murdered and 3 sustained injuries before our teams could intervene and rescue the remaining 22 suspects, 22 victims. So far, 22 suspects have also been arrested in connection with this gruesome act of mob violence. They too will face the full right of the law in court.
Away from security, the Senate and the House of Representatives have for the second time extended the implementation of the capital component of the 2024 budget to December 31, 2025. The bill, titled "A Bill to Amend the 2024 Appropriation Act to Further Extend the Capital Component of the Act," was first read during plenary on Tuesday and granted accelerated passage. It was presented by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriations, Senator Adeola Solomon. However, some lawmakers warned against the repeated extension of capital budget timelines, calling it a worrying trend.
To some projects which are yet to be funded and implemented, we find it very important to come before these ALO chambers that this budget be extended by further 6 months. What is happening is not backed by facts. I have no problem. There is necessity for us to address this issue, extend it, but we cannot continue extending all the time. Today has not given compelling reasons why this extension has become necessary. Maybe there is too much preoccupation with politics and 2027. Maybe there is too much concentration on receiving defectors all across the country, and people are not looking because the business of the Nigerian people, for which we were all elected, all of us and the President of the Federal Republic, is not moving forward. That is the reason this motion and this bill has become necessary.
I understand your feelings. I understand the fact that you have so many projects ongoing, like those roads. I mean, like roads. So many contractors have done, the artwork, remaining, the asphalt to put asphalt, but they don't have the money to do that. And once we don't extend the budget, it means those projects will be left abandoned.
Now to some politics. The former Vice President Atiku-Obi has restricted the title of Waziri Adamawa, effectively removing him as second in command to the Lamido of Adamawa. The Waziri title granted to Atiku in 2017 by the Adamawa Emirate Council made him the Emirate's most senior kingmaker and top advisor to the Lamido. However, a circular dated June 19 signed by Felicity Adama, Permanent Secretary of Chieftaincy Affairs, communicated Governor Amadu Fintiri's directive that only indigenes can hold traditional titles outside their native domains. The circular mandates that all kingmakers must be indigenes of designated districts, excluding non-indigenes like Atiku from such positions in areas beyond their local government. The Social Democratic Party, SDP, has suspended its national chairman, Shehu Gabam, over allegations of financial misconduct. Gabam was suspended alongside National Auditor Nnadi Klassen and National Youth Leader Uchechukwu Chukwuma. In a statement released on Tuesday, the SDP's National Publicity Secretary, Rufus Ayeniba, said the suspensions were based on grave allegations of embezzlement, misappropriation, and diversion of party funds. He said the decision was taken under Article 19, subsections 1, 3A, and 5 of the party's 2022 constitution as amended. Ayeniba added that the decision followed a resolution reached at the meeting of the National Working Committee, where overwhelming evidence was presented against the three officials. The Taraba state government has described as misleading the claim by unspecified persons that it has nominated the incumbent Deputy Speaker of the State Assembly, Haman Adama Adamu, as the new Deputy Governor of the state. In a press briefing by the State Commissioner for Information, Zainab, the state government insisted that there is no vacancy in the office of the Deputy Governor and that the current Deputy Governor, Aminu Alkali, remains the duly elected Deputy Governor of Taraba State, according to the government. The process of replacing a Deputy Governor as enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution is clear. Due legislative and constitutional procedures is required, and such processes has not been initiated or contemplated this time. The government said it remained focused on delivering good governance and will not be distracted by the unfounded speculations. Now, away from politics, health advocates are calling on Nigeria's federal government to swiftly enforce a total ban on the sale of e-cigarettes and flavored tobacco products to minors. The call follows a peaceful demonstration at the Federal Ministry of Health in Abuja, where campaigners pushed for urgent action to curb youth access to harmful tobacco alternatives. They are appealing to the Federal Ministry, alongside the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, to enforce stricter buyer identification measures and regulate access to vaping products across the country.
Nigerian kids are buying vapes everywhere without any form of identification or control. We need the Ministry of Health to enforce identification and control over Nigerian kids buying vapes. The last upward review of tobacco taxation was in 2022. We are due for another review because this is becoming a pandemic. The World Health Organization says that an upward review worldwide to 50% for tobacco taxation gives us an extra $101 billion in revenue. This makes us have 11 million people smoke less and also 4 million less deaths from tobacco. We need an upward review as soon as possible.
And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. I am being Boro. Breakfast will continue shortly.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Let's now go through the papers and see what the front pages are saying. Public affairs analyst Sheson Okwade is here with us. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good to have you.
Good morning, Minga.
Good to have you on this beautiful. What's today's date? You know,
today is the 25th of June. We haven't slept.
Wednesday.
So Wednesday.
We understand the circumstances.
Baby, it's not really easy.
Baby time.
Those are the things our parents face.
You're paying it forward. I think that being a parent helps you appreciate your parents more because you understand the sacrifice that they made for you.
Absolutely. It's a phase we all have to go through.
Maybe I will just
Thank you very much, Mr. Okwade, for joining us this morning. Let's start with the Daily Independent newspaper. So many interesting headlines there. PDP vows to resolve national scribe dispute after meeting with the INEC. Again, Senate extends 2024 budget implementation till December. To boost growth, Tinubu vows nationwide infrastructure push, pledges expanding livestock economy for jobs and food security. Tinubu rejects National Assembly Library Trust Fund bill, cites legal concerns. But our one's group urging Tinubu to pick him as running mate. SDP suspends national chairman, 2 others over alleged embezzlement. Nigeria, Brazil seal $1 billion agri defense, energy, food and security deal. That's a big one. But I'd like us to touch on the Barrow One's groups urging Tinubu to pick him as running mate. Since we came to this uninterrupted democratic experience since 1999, it's almost been automatic for presidents to run with their sitting vice president in their second term. But now we're hearing insinuations, and some people have been suggesting that the president changes his vice president, and the president has not come out to expressly say, look, I'm going to go with Vice President Shettima in my second term. Why are we having this sort of talks? And is it that all is not well in the villa between the president and the vice president?
Yeah, Benga, let me say that most of the time, you look at the person in question at the center of the whole affair. I would not say all is not well with the villa, but I have seen the antecedent of Mr. President. He's someone that I would say maybe he's liberal. He doesn't like people, you know, repeating the same. He wants to have this dynamism of having different people. Consider you've done your bit, let's have another person.
Yeah, when it was governor of Lagos State, I believe he had 3 deputy governors, if I'm not mistaken.
A lot of people will say those are people that are actually challenging his position, and he decided to just take them off so that he can have a free day. But I've seen him more as he feels that, okay, you've done your bit, let's have somebody else. But these are the happening of different groups coming to advocate for Mr. President, you know, picking them as VP. We are just starting. This is just from the north. I'm sure people from the south, east too might be considering something on their part.
No, you can't have a southern president and a southern vice president.
Several people are actually saying that it should be on merit, and let's leave this regional setting out of it.
I mean, since we've got Muslim
ticket. So nothing can stop us of saying south. It's about the merit on that particular thing. But this is just the beginning of it. I feel not until when we conduct the primaries, even though we keep hearing, you know, everybody picking Mr. President and the consensus candidate for APC, not until when the primary is concluded, then the president can now work with the party to say, okay, this is the direction we're going. Because
so how do you expect Mr. Kashim Shettima to feel, the vice president, currently seeing all this jostling for? I mean, he's already in a position, and then people are lobbying for his seat.
If you know the politician, they know how they play the game. He won't feel anyhow, because they might pull him out as vice president and give him another appointment that he will just be much more better than being the vice president? Because there are some...
I mean, after vice president is the president, that's the only...
Yeah, but you know, it's not an automatic ticket to say, like some institution would do, to say we are actually...
A joint ticket.
You know, not even a joint ticket to say, if you are the vice president, there is hope that you become president. It doesn't work that way. So this idea of saying you are vice president, you might even have some other, like some of us would say, there are other individuals who are not vice president that we consider as powerful than the vice president as far as this country is concerned. So I feel that they might just feel that step down, let's look for other things to do and allow that, so that we can have this, you know, spread out. The way politicians, you know, the way they think is beyond the way you and I are professional. Because if you look at professional
as
bodies,
a reward system, for example,
maybe we can consider that as one of the highlights. Because when you see professional bodies, they will look at the way they climb. When you become vice president, you're already looking up to say, okay, I think I will become the president. But it doesn't work like that for us in the country. So I want to say, let's leave the politicians do it the way they want to do. What I am concentrating on is the next 2 years that we have for Mr. President and the Vice. Give us good governance. I saw one of the headlines where he's giving a commitment of infrastructural push, you know, and saying that he's going to give the dividend of democracy. People are really not smiling, even though we believed a lot. Sunday, I bought fuel at 870 something. This morning, I'm buying at I bought at 9:30, and I asked myself, as a businessman, if as at last week, I've given a quote to an organization that I need the input of this fuel as one of my yardstick, will I be going back to that organization to readjust, or will I be declining? So we've asked several questions to say, can we look internally to how to give good governance, you know, and allow to have steady, you know, this. We shouldn't allow foreign or international conflicts to dictate a lot of things. Well, we are in control.
Regulated. That's what they say. So susceptible to global
if it's deregulated, can we internally look at how we can regulate things and give better governance to our people? Let people afford this product. Let people be able to plan. Let businessmen be able to take certain decisions. So if that is happening, do you know the impact this little increase of about 50 or 60 naira has actually impacted in the cost of goods outside there? If you are buying 50 liters, I'm sure people will tell you that how much is it? You might be looking at maybe 2,000, 5,000. Look at that in many folds when you are just having different offices everywhere, and this they are bringing to you. So these are things that can we have consistency in our policy? Look inward. A lot of us have suggested that can we do something differently? We've been saying international market, demand and supply, using all grammar. Can we set aside, first and foremost, give a condition to say this is the actual consumption in terms of PMX and DPK. And we want to look for a way of saying out of the crude that we are selling to international market to make more money, we are separating some for processing and you are giving that for our local consumption. So that whether Iran is fighting, Israel is, Ukraine is fighting anywhere, this is our own product. And our people are benefiting from it. International market will not flood those
even if
out.
it's for a certain period of time.
It shouldn't be for a certain period of time. It should be there to make sure that how can you be producing something and still be suffering out of it? It's my concern. We can't be producing this. If we are buying those things, we can be talking of international market. And this is something I want to, because it's painful. So if
something you have in your backyard,
if Israel and Iran or another country decide to join, and the price of crude at the international market, it adds to maybe 140, 150. It becomes good revenue for us, of which we are not seeing so much of the impact of the revenue being generated, used for us. And we will now be buying the fuel as high as 1,000.
When you have refining capacity now,
within us,
and you also produce the crude oil in your backyard,
in your country.
I get you.
So I feel we can have an understanding with the refinery. Since government has failed in their own responsibility of making the refinery to work, let's go to the man and say, see, our raw materials is this is the cost we are going to. How much will you assist in producing this specific amount for local consumption and be shared and managed, because we cannot allow this flotation to go. It's impacting on businesses, it's impacting on individuals. Before you know it now, NSA will come out and say increase our salary, and becomes another subject of discussion because they feel that what they are consuming is not
President Donald Trump has said that there's a ceasefire now, so we expect things to calm. There's peace in the world, peace in the Middle East, so the prices should come down. And Olive, Sheson said something quite instructive, that from the politics and the president's body language and his antecedents, that nothing is guaranteed for political appointment holders until the primaries are done in 2027. So if you're a minister now, if you're an appointee, things might change. And I guess the only position that is guaranteed, because it's hereditary, is the position of first son. So you can also vouch for the position of first daughter. That one is a blood covenant.
I think you're going to say something serious. Okay, I still want us to look at the front page of the Daily Independent and see the top story on the left corner. PDP vows to resolve national scribe dispute after meeting INEC. Party chieftains hit at the Magom for denigrating Olugwamba. You remember that PDP's issue stems with, trying to decide who the national secretary is. Is it Today Okoye? Is it Samuel Anyanwu? There's a camp that believes it's Samuel Anyanwu. Another camp believes it's Ude Okoye. They believe Samuel Anyanwu went to run for office. He has no business here. So how do you foresee the possibility of PDP resolving their crisis? It feels like PDP they've not had a break in a while. It's been back-to-back. When they're getting out of one or trying to navigate one, another one will happen.
Yeah. Well, for me, is expected. And a lot of people will say it's the external forces that is actually controlling certain things, which I don't believe. I think last week we discussed this with Joe, and I'm of the opinion that the PDP, the INEC came out to say they recognize Anyanwu. And I said, it's not to just say the man left his office, went to go and contest for a particular position. Do we have documentation to back it up that it was actually replaced, removed, and the due process will actually follow? We always say that the chief scribe of every organization is as strong, even stronger than the chairman or whosoever is at the helm of affair, because when you even have meetings, the proceedings of the meeting is in his hands, and he can decide to influence it whichever way. I feel that they can come to terms with one another, because people like us have said they are not actually playing the role expected of them as opposition in criticizing this government. A lot of distraction on their part. APC had it well while PDP was at the center, coming out with a lot of criticism and making suggestions, not just criticizing, and at the time people were of the opinion that, okay, the change mantra is, let's look for ways. But as we speak, I don't think anyone will sit down to have consideration because of the internal crisis. And it has come to be to say that once a party fall out of power, they seems to be clouded with a lot of problems that will take them doing the right thing. We expect them to be a strong opposition, the voice of the people, to be able to put the current administration on their toes, because they are all politicians and they understand the language. They can speak from that perspective. But as we speak, the house that is divided against itself, how do you expect them to actually challenge the position?
Okay, let's hear from Benjamin. Benjamin is calling us this morning and wants to contribute. Good morning, Benjamin. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just want to agree with Sheson on the issue of the fuel prices. I agree with him on what he said, but I want to say that there is a danger in it if you start producing the cost at a lower cost. What it means is that you will not see fuel now being smuggled out of the country, and then we now have scarcity. However, what I want to contribute to that is that the federal government can give Dangote, for example, at the price of the international market, and then ask him to supply the fuel at a price, a baseline, where it cannot be more than what we have now. So that when whatever the government is going to, what the government is going to do now is that they will give him tax relief on whatever is paying, so that we have a balanced fuel price level. But we must tighten our borders to ensure that fuel is not being smuggled out of the country, so that we don't go back to the era of scarcity. Thank you very much.
Contribution.
Olive, I appreciate Benjamin's comment. I asked myself, who are the people manning our borders? Each time we have marching order from Mr. President, can't we give the instruction to, like, these are things that are meant for us? And it's because we keep saying it, there are no consequences for wrongdoing. People stay at the border, they move our things out, and they do it freely, and they do it to our face.
Such a huge amount of security personnel at the semi-border, from Badagry all the way, you can count up to 50.
So what are they doing? So you ask yourself, what are they doing? Because we cannot, because of this idea of saying people smuggling, how are you punishing people to say, and that's why we've asked the question, and up to today, I stand to be corrected. What is our average monthly consumption of this product as a local? Even when subsidy was removed, we were actually expecting that we have data. And that's why there was a time I was discussing with my friend, the chairman of the tax reform, to say, we always speak to fact. But when it comes to this issue of petroleum product, I don't think there has been any time we have the actual consumption of this petroleum product that can guide. If there are going to be smuggling, then we should hold those personnel who are there and look at which, because we can't continue to be suffering a common man. A lot of people struggle to even get power. So the alternative that they have is this fuel to actually energize their home. And it's really not stable. You have it stable for 1 or 2 months. The next thing you have, who knows, we don't pray for war. But this issue of Israel and Iran, nobody, so anything can happen at any time. But be able to give that relief to your locals in such a way that things can be steady in the way they do it. This idea of smuggling, there are people doing it, and we know them. But if government is not intentional about curbing those acts, then it is the common man they are actually punishing.
Wale is calling us this morning as well. Let's hear from him. Good morning, Wale. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. It's nice having me online this morning. Yeah. I would like to contribute to what is going on. First of all, Cheson, that is on your program now, he happens to be my primary school friend. Number one, I would like to say hi to him in Emmanuel Primary School. But what I want to say about this issue is this. The problem we have in Nigeria is a management issue. A management issue, and I don't want to zero it down to just to fuel. I want to generalize. You can imagine of recent what happened in Yelewata, where President Tinubu had to tell the IGP before those guys could be arrested. You know, these are the issues we're having. People are not responsible for what they are being put to do. People need to take responsibility of their action. We don't have to wait until the presidency give an instruction before certain actions are taken. Everybody needs to do the right thing at the right time. That's what I like. And that's why you can see we have more opportunities in Nigeria, but the opportunities are not being announced because everyone is not doing what is right. Everyone is waiting for his own opportunity. Everyone wants to take his own. Everyone is selfish in Nigeria. Until we see ourselves as a collective entity, until we see ourselves as a body that we need to work to enhance ourselves, that is where things can move forward in Nigeria. So and that is my own take on this. So it is not only limited to fuel. It is on all spheres of our life. People should be responsible for which office they occupy, and that is where Nigeria can move forward. Thank you.
Well,
thank you very much.
You can hear the passion in his voice.
Yeah.
You can tell he used to come first, and Sheson used to come second.
He's one of the big boys those days when we were in primary school.
At least if you ever decide to run for office, we have proof that you went to school.
At least I can call my classmates.
Okay, I think we should look at another newspaper at this point. New Telegraph.
Let's go to the Daily Times. On the front page of the Daily Times, who is your national secretary? Yakubu asks PDP.
I like this.
Who is your guy?
Is it Today Okoye?
Or is it Samuel Anyang? Okay, and still on the front page, Army cautions Southeast residents on manipulated content. And I think that this is something to talk about. I don't know the details of this story. I probably will look it up before we finish. But in the advent of AI, can we please appeal to people? They're doing the actual most. 2 days ago, my auntie was showing me a video where they said terrorists and bandits are chasing women, running inside the bush. And as they were running, she was like, oh, look at it in somewhere in Nigeria. I said, this is AI.
Is it? I mean,
can we calm down? This new trend of AI, where people are doing all sorts of
I also saw a video that Burkina Faso is now the #1 oil producer in the world, producing more than Saudi Arabia. And people, you know, from our own perspective, maybe because we're media trained and media literate, we tend to say, look, it's obvious that this is a fake.
But
there's so many people out there, even educated people that have no clue.
Even saying educated people, even some media houses on my platform where I belong to, you will see certain information, you'll be asking, are you a trained journalist to actually be believing? You know, it's when you believe, you share. When you don't believe a content, it's difficult for you to share. So the truth of it is, we will continue to say some of these things. You can't take those people out. It's just like you saying that hackers should be out of business. They are there, they are growing every day. All we need to do is to look for ways of actually putting out information that will counter some of these things which we're doing. Because I say most of the time they will call me from overseas and say, please don't go to this place or don't eat this this is a video I just watched. Like you said, on Facebook, on Instagram, everybody is going to sleep tomorrow. They will not wake up. They have actually poisoned. I say, for Christ's sake, I just came back from the same state. You are complaining that everybody will not wake up tomorrow. These are things. So you can't take off those people because there are no consequences. What can we do? We will continue to go on this space. Can we have more people who will galvanize to relate? Because even the government that should counter some of these reports are not there. So I put it on the table of the media houses in every structure we found ourselves to see how we correct some of these narratives once we don't believe. Because I know most of the time when we are there, there are tools you can use to monitor some of these AI development, to know that the story is really, put together. There are some stories that are, there was a video I watched too where they said they've killed everybody in one part of the northern region. In fact, if you see the way...
And these things are dangerous. They could lead to reprisal attacks.
Yes.
People could...
So we should go into the space and see how we correct some of those narratives.
Just to highlight.
And government should just take responsibility therein too.
Apparently this one, there was a misleading video surfacing that falsely alleged that the federal government and Southeast and other governments have planned to transport weapons to attack Southeast residents. So reacting in the state on Tuesday, the acting deputy director, Army Public Relations 82 Division, Lieutenant Colonel Olabisi Ayeni, described the claims as entirely deceptive and a calculated attempt to incite disaffection among ethnic groups in the country. So I doubt that this is AI, but I had to bring up the AI one because it's actually becoming a thing. The other day I saw people hosting, you will see a reporter talking about flood, and the next thing somebody falls into a ditch and the flood covers them. All those ridiculous clips. AI is wonderful,
people should be
used for it should be used responsibly.
Yeah,
right.
I think that's the part we just need to go. AI has come to stay, and it's actually impacting and influencing some of our side of our economy positively. But we should not just misuse it in such a way that it now becomes something that will be disastrous to our economy.
Let's take the front pages of the stories on the front page of the Daily Times. Senate extends implementation of 2024 budget to December. I ask you, Mother of 12, our Constitution guarantees freedom of movement, Kaduna governor says. FAN moves to automate airports, fully bans cash payments. Interesting. Lufthansa under fire as passengers report missing phones on board. It feels like a scam, says victim. Missing phones, how?
Was it a one-off? Or is it Lufthansa's fault? Or you have passengers that are skilled in pilfering?
Either skilled or even the other party.
Who takes responsibility?
Yeah. So for me, for that story, I feel proper investigation needs to be carried out. And
investigation when passengers have gone home.
No.
Shouldn't there be like cameras on the plane?
Yeah, that's an area I'm trying to go. That we should have things that will spot out one or two things. But that's why you always see this disclaimer when you enter into public space, you take responsibility for some of your gadgets and things that you are holding. Like, we want to validate, is it a one-off thing or is something that is happening continuously?
I mean, for you to make the news and the passenger saying that it feels like a scam, I think it's a regular occurrence. And Lufthansa is a German national carrier. You expect highest international standards. You don't expect...
Until we have full details of that story, everyone may not be able
to go into it.
Yeah.
But all right. Do you expect people that, I mean, no, I'm not class discriminating. If this thing happened in a keke, you expect it to happen. But wow. People that fly planes, they have a certain standard.
Well, knows no economic.
That is an area I want to say. It doesn't know any. Once you have it in your gene,
big man is doing beauty.
You'll be shocked. You don't allow people to call in that. Even some of the ones that are doing
even in church, in the house of the Lord,
even before the altar, people they pray. You just leave your phone by the side.
Meanwhile,
the national security advisor.
Yesterday at one of the events I was at, I dropped my content creator dropped my food bag near my handbag and came to take pictures of me next. I say,
you are lucky it wasn't your handbag.
But it's not even your handbag.
It's not my handbag.
Now your food
can be bought. I'll buy you lunch.
You buy me lunch. I've said that on national television.
Buy you yam and egg.
Okay, let's go to Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria. The front page of the Daily Times says that they have now banned cash payment and more tariff hike in the airports. They say that the Director of Commercial and Business Development Fund, Adebola Agunbiya, they disclosed this on Monday while speaking during an event in Lagos. He noted that 92% of its current revenue comes from aeronautical sources, while only 8% is derived from non-aeronautical activities, a stark contrast to global standards where non-aeronautical revenue accounts for over 40% in many developed countries. So he says that this is a step in modernizing their operations and rebalancing their revenue structure. Do you think that this would be great, the fact that they're going completely digital?
If you ask me, they are coming late because most organizations have digitalized their process and they make it cashless. But you ask yourself, are the infrastructure there? So that, people take advantage of some of these things when the infrastructure you've put in place. You put POS in a particular place and somebody is telling you that we are sorry, the POS is not working, and you are in a hurry to get things done. Without thinking, I just say, okay, I beg, take the cash, even when you know that you should be. So how are they training their people to make sure that the infrastructure they're actually providing are actually top-notch? People now do transfer, and you can get alert, even if POS is not working on your POS machine. I know there are several POS that actually carry out that deal. You say, we are trying to use this thing, can you do transfer? And as you're doing the transfer, they are getting the alert. So I think they need to do proper training, put the right infrastructure in place. As far as they are coming late, because a lot of government agencies are now going cashless, and that's just the way to go. So you don't have any interface with anybody. Then they should do more enlightenment. Place those things conspicuously, at some of their revenue generating offices in such a way that you can. So when somebody is telling you that this is not working, what are other alternative measures that you've actually put on place? Because you now have to refer to that sticker to say, see, they said there is no cash, so I'm not going to pay cash. What are the alternatives that you've provided for me to carry out some of these activities with them?
I don't think that it's possible for us to do newspaper review without talking about the fact that the extended implementation of 2020 budgets, 2024 budgets to December 2025.
Do a second check to, okay, what year are we in?
Yeah, 2025, and we are in June of 2025. So implementation of 2024 budgets to December.
We are playing catch up.
A lot of us, I think last night I spoke on this, and this morning my position is I still don't understand the rationale, because going by our law and constitution, our budget is an annual budget. But this that we are doing now is about 1.5 years, because I think we started last year, June, That was why they requested for that additional 6 months, so that I was thinking that we're going to change the cycle from June to June as against January to December. If you are going to do that, then the law, the legislators can sit down and say, okay, our fiscal year will no longer be January to December, it will be June, based on the fact that this is when we started here, not actually advocating for an extension, because how can you be running two budgets concurrently? It's going to give room for a lot of manipulation from the MDs who are responsible. You say it's capital project because we got delayed in funds. There are ways you move some of these budgets of inconclusive project in the previous year. It's all the project that you have in a particular fiscal year that you have to actually execute. You move it to a new one, and there are ways you have the continuity in it. So to me, it does not speak to the global best practice. I know a lot of people have actually said, and I read through, that the medium-term expenditure stuff is the bedrock at which, because that gives room for multiple year use of some of these. But I feel if we must do that, we should start addressing things internally. Do this.
Just right. A quick one before we run out of time. There's some interesting items here on the New Telegraph newspapers. Could we have it on the screen, please? The New Telegraph. The headline here says, Iran-Israel ceasefire crashes oil prices to 2-week low. I saw the speed at which the fuel stations increased the price of fuel. Can they please use that same energy and speed to let it reflect the current realities in the world since the prices have crashed? Value of Nigerian equities hit record 75.8 trillion on investments resurgence. Some good news there. Ongoing constitution review exercise in futility, says constitutional lawyer Itse Sage, kicks against National Assembly state creation move. Yes, and I think the bill on state creation has passed second reading, if I'm not mistaken. What do you make of this? Olive made... She made a statement about Ibadan State this morning. I believe it's part of it. There's also a Godo state and things like that. So, do we need more states at this point in time when quite a number of states are not even economically viable?
Yeah, my personal view, I don't think we need more states. I think we need more cohesion within the existing states and how those states can be economically viable. Making use of the resources. A lot of people will come and say, this state is a civil servant state. And I say, yes, if it's a civil servant state, how are you exploring those intellectuals in making deliverable? We can start exporting our intellectual to other states because it's part of what has been claiming.
Absolutely no state without
natural resources that you can actually tap from. But come to think and say, this, I know somebody came to say my state was actually civil servants there. I said, but I remember when we were growing up in our social study, they told us that we have golds that you can mine in Malaysia, which is in Osun State. So why would you come and say that it's a civil servant state? So how much of it have you actually tapped of some of those things that you can actually explore? So
you also have tourism. Ojide Oba, for example, I heard they made upwards of $8 million.
That gives good income. But you ask yourself, when those incomes are generated, how do we track to make sure that we get the taxes that is derivable from it? A lot of people go away without making those taxes because taxes are for common man and not for the board. We believe with the fiscal policy that is actually coming on board, once it's been accepted by Mr. President, we can have a good level.
All right, we have to go out of the studio now. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Mr. Shosokwan.
Always great time to start the
And I'd like to take this opportunity to wish our director, Tunde Raji, a happy birthday, the Duke of Okoba. God bless you, my brother.
Happy birthday. I hope hopefully you share small chops for us after this. We'll see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.